to Bluegrass Banjo 101. Would you put your hands together for Mr. Bill Keith?
Thank you very much. Thanks. It's nice to be back, and great to see this weather like it is, and last for the duration, I surely hope. Well, nice to see so many banjos too. There's lots of folks with and without them. I hope I can give you all something to take home and work on, or have some fun with, or that's the whole goal of it all, actually. And a lot of it, the way I approach it kind of gets technical, and that's the harder stuff to remember, and I don't have any handouts, and there's no blackboard to write on and anything. So it's a little hard to get around to some things, you know. So where do we start? Any questions so far? Let me run out by you a thing that is sort of it's built into not just the instruments but the music itself. And the understanding, having an overview of this kind of way things are organized has been one of the things that's helped me most, and it helped me enjoy listening to music as well, because I can hear more stuff in it. You can, well, I like to say, you can almost get it all from intuition if you get at it right. So that's a Christmas carol, but it's also the major scale. See that? You know that kind of in your head, you know, everybody, since when we were 1 year old, and we have this musical pieces planted in there. And it's just the notes rambling up and down. And you take those notes and shuffle them around and rearrange them, and all of a sudden it's different tunes. So you can take it either way. You can start with one tune and learn it. Or another one. So it's all moving up and down in the scale, right? So this is just this row of notes, and anything we play in this key is just those notes shuffled around. So you can learn it tune by tune, after tune, or you can say, well, I'll start at the other end and say, well, where's that scale? And once I get my fingers going there, then I just change the rolls and shuffle the notes around and see what comes out. And so I think that's a good place to start, is with the scale itself. And it has a lot to give. And so I'm going to take that, and I'll just go up to the first fifth note and back down. And if I do that in heavy rhythm, what comes out is that chord, because that chord is 1, 3, 5. Everybody knew that, of course. All right, let me just sort of change feet. If I was dancing on one foot, then I'll dance on the other foot and put that note on the heavy B and go up to 5 notes from there. So now we're hearing another chord. It's not a, it's an A minor chord there, and I didn't make it minor. It's re, fa, la, if you're into that do, re, mi, fa, sol business. A minor. Okay, do it again. B minor. There's the 4th chord, the 4th chord, yeah, and it's C, just plain old C, C major. There's the 5 chord, it's D major also. So we've found the 1, 4, and the 5, but we knew that all along. And then we had the 2, and the 3, and the 4, and the 5. Here comes 6. See, it's falling right out of the scale. And the last one, well, gee, this isn't major because it's not straight across. It's not minor because it's not that little triangle. It's something else. And it's the only one where the 1st and the 3rd strings are not in line with each other. And so that's the 5th up. So this is a flatted 5th called a diminished. And this is back to major. So this set of chords is built in the scale. Same row of notes. Okay, we can go a notch higher in the row and we get 7th chords. That's a G major 7. So this whole set of chords is built right in there to the music, whatever instrument you're playing it on. And whatever key it's in, it's just that same thing higher or lower. And on banjo, you can take advantage of those chord positions if you want to find quick single string stuff. Take any 2 neighbors. How about G and A minor? Then you got all right, right there. Just if it's not one chord, it's the other. What about the next 2 neighbors like this? So you see there, just one chord or the other. Here are the next 2 neighbors, B minor and C major. So and there's a C chord because you can project either one. And the next 2 neighbors are C and D. So I can protect the C chord or the D. Recording for Misty. Ray Stevens sings it, the guy that did the Ahab the Arab and those novelty songs. He recorded Misty with Mark Pruitt playing bluegrass banjo on it. Sounds real nice. It's got a lot of chords in it, but a lot of songs do, and that are interesting to hear and worth knowing. So that's where the the scale kind of goes, you know. It takes you into those realms if you go high enough in the stack. If you stay down into the 3-note range, then we get the 1, 4, 5 chords of bluegrass out there. But here's a neat thing. In bluegrass you have G and C and D. Well, what I'm going to do is keep the treble strings the same, but I'm going to change the bass note. So, in bluegrass it's 1, 4, 5, 1, 4, 5, but this is 1, 6, 2, 5, 1, 6, 2, 5. Kind of hear that instead of 1, 4, 5, you can extend bluegrass out on that rim, or not, you know, because sometimes it's nice to know how to do something and not do it, you know. It's like that's what somebody said was the definition of a gentleman, somebody that could play banjo but didn't. Present company accepted, of course. So, you know, the other, let's see, well, any requests or any questions about what's going on? Yes, sir.
When you're playing a song, do you pick one roll and kind of stick to it throughout that song?
Almost never. Most of the time it's a lot of rolls involved. There are a few songs that use one roll, and you can do, I practice rolls by isolating them and building exercises so I can do the roll continuously instead of just encounter it once in some arrangement. Because you got to get some strength behind it and get some speed to it. So you do isolate and for example, well, there's a roll that people use in Old Joe Clark. And in fact, I did this yesterday. Anyone that, well, if somebody was here yesterday, sorry about this. But if you learn Earl stuff, one of the first rolls you probably use is thumb index, thumb middle. Well, think about it. That roll is putting the thumb on the important beats, but we got 2 other fingers. There's got to be 2 other rolls, one for each of those fingers, puts them on the beat. Easiest way you could see it would be just to turn the banjo upside down and do the thumb roll this way, T-I-T-M. Well, I need to do that without turning it over, and so it has to be the middle finger. Okay, well that's what you use in Old Joe Clark. So I like to sort of say, take that lick and let's spread that out and make it into an exercise and make it go all up and down the neck. So we're really dealing with pairs of notes in Old Joe Clark. Just get the roll going over and over, and then those pairs of notes. What I try to do is what I call borrow, which is if I'm coming down the neck. Those are the same pairs of notes that Earl uses for ground speed. Well, okay, do that Old Joe Clark lick. go to the place where you just were. This is an exercise, right? Okay, then you go up from underneath. See, and then you try to get get loose with it, and not think about a particular tune. You're just getting ready for lots of tunes or melodic twists of that nature. Then you do it on another pair of notes, first and third string. Scale behind there. And your ear is telling you if the notes are right or wrong. You're using isolating the roll to get it going faster and get that conviction into it. You see what I mean? Getting familiar with the sounds and so that's one roll throughout the whole thing, and I could coax a song out of that exercise. And so that's, you know, that's the way I like to take it, and then choose another lick and do the same thing to it. They all have to be on automatic pilot. You can't be thinking about the individual fingers. You have to call it up like a subroutine. It executes, and you know. You can always, if you're learning a tune and there's a hard part, take that pattern and fan it out into a series of things rather than just one place them on tune. Let's see. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Do you have a publication or know of another one that's good for just exercises like that?
Well,
do you have one out that's...
I don't really have that kind of thing. I just did come out with a book about the music theory and it's the music facts. It's just facts. There's no theory in there. It's all practical working knowledge and how it looks on various things like a keyboard and a fingerboard and circle of fifths. I didn't wear my circle of fifths shirt today, but gee, maybe we should get any...
I got a request.
Yes, sir.
Devil's Dream.
Devil's Dream?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Sailors, please. Sailors?
Oh, yeah, I'll throw a few fiddle tunes in this if I can. mostly, except for Devil's Dream and Cyril's Hornpipe, most of them were not in the key of G. Were the notes of the key of G. It's funny, looking for patterns and how it relates to melodic stuff. Maybe you can sort of see enough of what I'm trying to get at here to take it home and try it yourself. This is something you can do at home. And if you got familiar with the G scale, you'll find these positions here, frets 4 and 5, and up here 9 and 10, where you need to go to get up and down in the G scale. So I can do some loops and come down, and if I use those positions, it'll sound like I'm in G. Okay, now with the C scale, it looks like this, where that's opened up and this is still tight up here. So there, and if you want the F scale, then you need to do this. Now this top one is opened up too. So I'm in the key of F. Now if I want to B flat, I can pull this one down here, so same right hand roll for all of them. And then if I wanted after B flat would come E flat, and that's when this pulls down up here. So you really can do G, C, F, B flat, and E flat by just altering these little positions on the neck. Actually, anyone here familiar with an album called Uncommon Ritual by Bela Fleck and Mike Marshall and Edgar Maher? There's a tune on there called Chromium Picolinate. I had to ask at the health food store what the heck it was. I was surprised. So you go ask. It's a neat little tune, and what you have to think with this kind of progression, let me get this straight here. Just think that kind of change. That's the chords behind this thing, and watch the left hand thing, it's a totally... So this is the F chord, it's chromatic. This is the C7. Oh, yeah. And this is G7. And then here's the C. Anyway, it's a great piece of music, and this is so inside look. Yes, ma'am.
I'm a beginner and I've been at it about a year, and I'm told, because I'm learning Scruggs style, I'm told if I start trying to learn melodic style like Devil's Dream, that I'll screw up what I'm trying to, that it'll interfere with the, do you agree with that? That I should leave that and not even try it until...
I got real screwed up in the process, so yeah, but I'm still you know, it's how you look. I think a lot of Earl stuff is very modular, and it's a good way to learn and to understand the music at the same time. And I started by learning Earl's clothes and played Earl stuff, and so I tried to play as close as I could. In fact, I wrote it all out in order to learn it, and my transcriptions became the Earl Scruggs instruction book. So it has worked for a lot of people that wanted to pursue, that still want to pursue the way Earl did it, you know. So their fingers will tread where Earl's fingers have trod upon their neck, you know. It's the way Alan Mundy explained it, where
They are two different
doesn't want to
styles.
go where no fingers have ever gone before. Sorry?
So does it interfere with the learning process? I mean, does that make any
It's
sense?
a different
to do,
kind of
like,
learning
jumping
thing.
ahead? Yeah.
What I was going to say is that
So then
Earl's is modular, and that fits the music, and it's really good stuff to know. See, and it's driven by a lot by the right hand. Just that one roll. You've learned that one, I bet you. Well, there it is in the beginning of Earl's breakdown. And here it is. Or here it is in Foothill Special. And again. Or here is in Foggy Mountain Shine. Again. So yeah, that's the modular thing, and the other thing is that's another real important piece of the modular puzzle, and that's really what I started on talking earlier. See, frankly, Earl doesn't use all the combinations possible. So you really, if you get, once you've got a good understanding what Earl does, then you have to include what other people do to get the same traditional style, and that may involve, well, if you call that thumb lead, then you'll need the middle finger lead and the index lead. That's all index lead. And that does border, that's the kind of licks that you need to enable the melodic style. If you never learn anything that Earl didn't play, you wouldn't learn those rolls, and so then it would be confusing to play melodic. But if you learn everything what Earl does and then the rest of the patterns, you will have what you need to play melodic if you wanted to. See, I think Earl stuff is right hand driven. The right hands do the rolls, and that's leaning into that. Don Reno's style. See, it's left-hand driven. It's the pattern you see on the fingerboard, moving that around. See what I mean? He does it here, 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 and here, and then sequel right there. So that's the kind of left-hand driven. Now, melodic style is notes are driving it. It's the melody that drives it. It's neither the right or left hand. You have to make up the left and right hand so the notes come out right. And yeah, so that's it is a departure from the other stuff in those respects. And it is it's anti-intuitive that you're going to get a higher note out of a lower string. And so that messes up a lot of people. But the longer you go without it, the more messed up you'll feel. Because you've already got certain things that you've taken for granted. See, if you do it too long. Yes, sir?
You said a couple things about playing in different keys. You've got a capo, so what keys do you use a capo on? Or have it?
Oh, I do. In fact, I put it on the dashboard when I park at the post office. But no, this one doesn't come off too easily, so I leave it on there. But for a number of reasons. First, if you want hard driving bluegrass stuff and you want to play an A or B flat or B, it's really you can't really do that with anchoring or trying to capo the whole thing. You can comp in any key without a capo, And sometimes it's nice to play in those keys without, so you can get lower versions of the chord, you know. B flat, it's a nice sounding chord. Added 9. Okay, well, it increases the possibilities. For example, there's a lot of things. I'll play out of D. What?
You retune the 5th string when you play?
I did. I put that up. So that's an option for D. But then there's, I mean, if I had to play the Ricketts hornpipe, I just played in D. Or another third option would be capo and then tune the string down. So there's 3 kind of ways to play in D. There are others, and in fact, here's kind of the way. This sounds technical, but it's really simple. Let me just. Okay, that song has the notes of the G chord and 2 others. It has this one, there and here, and it has this one. And that is the 2 and the, or 9, some people or and the 6. And so if I put those in as notes with the G chord, it makes a pentatonic scale. And okay, well, this pentatonic scale has G and D in it. There are 3 others that have G and D in it, and since so G's and D's account for 4 out of my 5 strings, and I can use them melodically, then those scales should be pretty easy because I only have to fret 3 notes out of 5. They're 5-note scales. I only have to fret 3 because I got G's and D's open. So here they are, this G, and look at the way they evolve in position-wise on the neck. Here's the G. And then there's C, there's F, and there's B flat. So I have G, and C, and F, and B flat. They all, I'm just keeping it right here, but they all go of G. And C would be F. What?
Are you doing all 4 rolls while you're doing that?
No, there's a combination of rolls, but I'm being driven by the notes, the loops I want to hear. But if I go straight up the scale, you can hear that's like that guitar run, right?
Okay, so you have to figure that out for yourself.
And I'm not, it's not any roll at all, really. It's thumb, index, middle, index, thumb, index, middle, thumb, middle. It's, I hear the notes go though, and it's not the roll. It's not driven that way. So anyway, I have those 4.
I just got it.
But you can hear any tune like the. All the notes in that melody are in the scale, and all the notes in the scale are in the melody. It's just how you shuffle them. So when you got. Or if I have. Or if I have. See how that's working? So all of those scales are pretty easy. So if I wanted to play in the key of C, or I could do. Okay, but I could also, here's another option. Okay, go up to the second fret, of course, to play in C. That's a pretty commonplace, I guess, wouldn't it be? It is, but C is always at the same place on the neck here. But now it looks like B flat above my capo, so I'll use a B flat pentatonic scale. And I'm playing in C out there. Or I could clamp up to the 5th fret. Hold on here. This capo only goes up to 4. So I have the capo for every fret pretty soon. So put this here at the 5th fret. That's a good place to play in C. And of course, now I can pretend this G. So I got my G. C. Or how about this? How about if I clamp all the way up to the 7th fret? Hardly ever do this. Okay, now my C chord looks like an F against the capo. So, nope, I'll get the capo on, right? So that's really 4 options to play in C, because I have 4 scales, each one of which I could capo up. But I would only, it's sort of, seeing that those pentatonic scales is a little system, and they're all the same, you can do the same rolls and everything, no matter which one you've got. The scales are like that too. I come down and loops out of the D scale. Let me get my capo out of here. Or G. Or C. Or F. And it's really the same right hand roll. What I'm varying up here anyway, it gets a little different there, but it's just depending on how many flats are in it, really, or sharps. You take the G scale and then you raise the C's. So all you got to do is you're in D all of a sudden. So a lot of it is right next door, 1 fret away, a whole other key. Yes, sir.
Can you show us a few things you might do up the neck on backing up on a scrub cell too?
Sure.
Like simple things for starter editors?
Yeah, okay. There's one, there's a nice thing, and it may not seem as simple as it is, but it is. You hear yourself, first this kind of back up is real good to know, and get it down where you can feel how far those are apart, and do it without looking and have a conversation, and then the chord changes C, and it's the same distance away up there, 4 frets, and back to G, and you can look at the other people in the band and see, and get eye contact and signals, and then you lead it. that's more a rhythmic thing, and then start to do what the bass player, guitar player do, adding lines and lead into the chords. Another thing that Earl does to back up sometimes slower tunes, he'll take just the top two strings and slide up to the G chord, the C chord. That's kind of a nice ornamentation, especially behind a low voice. You wouldn't want to ornament a fiddle that way because they're up in that range and doing stuff around there. Depends on how you back up depends on what else is going on. If a mandolin's backing up, I try to just play woody percussive sounds because that's the part what the mandolin is usually doing when he's backing up, and when he goes into lead mode, that rhythm thing he was adding drops out of the sound. So somebody should step in and just enough of it to fill that gap. When it gets into doing rolls, there's one that I like that Earl does. Works with that here. You think of the G chord up here at 17, right? And either wrap your thumb around at 14, and which will give you the sixth of the scale, the E there. And you start a forward roll on the third string and continue it on the fifth string. I don't actually, I use my index finger on the fifth string. You use these two fingers on the third and second strings, and I'm not fretting the fourth string at all. And you have to, yes, that's right. Okay. Okay, it's really kind of 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. The 1, 2, 3, 4 is what completes the 16th notes of the two measures. So, yeah, it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. That starts you to be able to do it again. Now we're going to go to D7. Roll for all the different chords.
The same chord shape?
Almost. The C is with the 6 back here. When I go to the D chord, most of the time when we're in G and we encounter a D chord, it's flavored for the 7th. So this finger has to come up because that's a D7 that way, right? I'm just putting it on the other string. So I can play it like this. So that's what I'm doing with the C chord. That finger is back a fret, so it's a 6, not a C7. Some people play a C7 there. But that C7, that note's out of the scale. Most of the time, we play C6. 4, and 5. That's what bluegrass is made of. And you can practice stuff generically too. It comes down to sort of if the song is 1, 4, and 5, and you're playing one of those chords, the odds are, you know, and you learn pretty much which ones are apt to come up. So what you end up doing is practicing changing from one of those chords to the other, getting good at the changes, and then you learn the song. You play the song by ear. If you play through the songs, you hear the change coming up. It doesn't matter what the song is or what the words are or anything, and that's how you learn to play by ear. It's sort of getting well, okay, I got to go to a C chord, and so I got to start some kind of run that's going to end up coming down or up or both. That's going to land me at the C chord at the right time, and then a certain amount of time later, a D chord's coming along, and it's that predictability that makes it fun, and you know, that's what I do is practice generic stuff. I get ready for the event. I don't practice tunes anymore as much as I used to learn tunes. I learn the stuff where the tunes are, the scales and the positions, and try different rolls. And I try to take a systematic approach to the rolls, and it just like I do to the neck. And you may be able to tell. To me, it's not just a lick here. It's part of a big system of stuff like not just one pentatonic scale. It's 4 of them, and it's only 4, and only because there are only those 4 scales that all have G's and D's in them. Those are the only 4 pentatonic scales that have G and D. And the time when I tried to go outside of the border, well, I got to the B flat scale. Okay, and then I realized that to get the next scale would be, which after B flat would be E flat. I needed to raise that D to E flat. So I could get it up here. And see here, that's now an E flat. So I decided to make a tune up in E flat, and this was it. Pentatonic scales that I've used, but then it's really just gives me other options on how to make a tune sound. Yes, sir.
You got something other than the conventional tuner tunes that you can do with your tuners? Any advice, comments, appropriateness?
Talking about the tuning pegs. In fact, this year is the 40th anniversary of their invention. And we went into production in early *64, so that's coming up on the 40th anniversary of the incorporation. And usually they're set to, if I have them set, oops. That's the usual way to set them up to go down into the D chord. And of course, you could set them up for something else, a D minor chord, or just use the second string a G to B to B flat. I had a tune that I'm going to embarrass myself because I haven't played this in a while. fact, I'm having trouble remember how it goes in the first place. But there's maybe our time has come, the end of the hour, so maybe this is I made up these little levers back here so I can operate them both at once. But the steel guitar stuff. But this, I have the first one set up to go up to E, and the bottom one, usually I set to go down to C, or also set it to go up to E. So here's a tune that well, I make a point of playing this once a year anyway, and maybe this is it. We'll see. I bet you all know it, but if you know the words, please don't sing along.
Bill Maher is the host of the cocktail party-style talk show Politically Incorrect. It is a fast and loose and completely irreverent forum where unlikely combatants meet on the issues. Maher's half hour is admired for its guts and smarts and is a return to the talk show concept of Jack Paar and Jack Benny. Politically Incorrect will observe and no doubt satirize the 1996 elections from its weeknight slot on Comedy Central before moving on to ABC in 1997. And we are pleased to have him here. Welcome.
Thanks, Charlie.
It's hard
Glad
to
be
say.
here.
Well, it's great to have you. I have the notion of doing what you did, which is to bring satire and political satire to television, deserves, for those of us who are political junkies, our appreciation.
Well, thank you. I thought before the show was on that there was a void out there in a lot of ways for a talk show that lets people who weren't policy wonks, weren't the regular McLaughlin, David Brinkley crowd, who would do a great job in their own way, but they are inside the beltway types. But I thought, you know, around the country, there's all sorts of people talking about what's going on. You know, we don't have to be experts. And very often on our show, we have, you know, we have the pundits, we have the experts, and then very often the really insightful thing will be said by a sitcom actor.
But you know what's interesting, though, and not to flatter you too much, but it is...
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. All right, here it is. You can take the same combatants, the same guest, the same people, and have someone else doing the show, and it's not the same. And people find that out because there have been, I'm sure people have tried to copy what you've done, and it ain't the same. And they'll say, what's missing here? Well, Bill Maher's missing here.
Thanks. I do have a formula for the show, my special sauce, I call it, that I don't want to get out. But yes, there have
dust that you put on.
There have been some rip-off attempts. There was one really right-on-the-nose one about a season ago called Last Call. Brandon Tartikoff's show, and you know, you don't even maybe remember it.
Of course I know. I knew the people who were there. I mean, Elvis Mitchell and others.
Yeah, and you know, what can I say? I used to watch it and go, fail.
Yeah, exactly.
Fail.
Don't make it.
You know, you can't. It's not fair. If this was good, it wouldn't be fair. So luckily, it wasn't.
Yeah. Well, right. When you weren't there, tell me what you saw and what you wanted to do. Well, let's even go back more. You went out. You were in Hollywood, and you were doing a sitcom, weren't you? And are you for 13 episodes or maybe less?
I had done a bunch of sitcoms.
Yeah.
I mean, I made my living doing acting in sitcoms, and I never was in a good movie, but I did plenty of them. Yeah. But for like 10 years out there, that was what paid the bills. And a sitcom was fun. Like my first one was in 1985.
Yeah.
I was 27 or something. It was just a ball to be on a sitcom. And by the time I did the last one, like 6 or 7 years later, I had just changed, you know, and it wasn't fun anymore to be the office creep.
Yeah.
You know.
Was there a similarity into the roles that they had you plugged into?
Well, I mean, sitcoms are all similar. I mean, it's all, you know, wisecracks with blow-dried hair.
Yeah.
That's my take. And I know there are some that do some wonderful stuff. And, you know, that's nice if you can get on one of those. But the odds are you're going to be on Bringing Up Chunky.
Yeah.
And you're going to be the office creep or the crazy neighbor or something. And
in between, you would always go back to stand-up or improv.
Still do. Yeah. Absolutely.
You still do?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I love stand-up more than ever now. A lot of what I did for the first 15 years of stand-up, I really feel was prologue to the way I do it now, because I think it was Bob Hope who said there's 3 elements to comedy. There's timing, which you're born with or not.
Right.
There's material, which you gather over time. And there's recognition, which comes only after some success. But when you have that third element, recognition, when they know you before you go up there to perform for them, it's just a whole new ballgame. They know what to expect. They're there because they like it. I mean, when I used to be a comic on the road, even if you were a headliner, you'd play at the Weekly Comedy Club, and maybe last week there was a guy who smashed pumpkins. Yeah. And so they came back expecting that, and there am I. I'm not going to smash anything tonight.
And they come wanting you to succeed, whereas rather than coming saying, prove to me you deserve to be there.
That is exactly right. That's right.
But there was a great line once in which I read this story somewhere, where you left the stage, or somebody else left the stage, and you were about to go on at the Improv, and whoever he was, and you know, turned to you and said, is this what it's all about, or something to that effect?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yes, I do remember that. That was during those, really the worst part of my career was right before the show started, because I said I was done with sitcoms. I didn't want to do that, and I was like, what am I going to do? And I was going on at the Improv. It was a Saturday night, which is the biggest night in the business, and here I was just working at the Improv for $28 or whatever, and he was coming off the stage, and he said, is this it for us, Bill?
Is it going to be the Improv forever?
Yeah.
Every Saturday night, this is as high as we're going to go.
But see, I think that's what forces you to come up with the concept. It's like that little grain of sand in the oyster that makes it produce the pearl.
All right. So tell me how you came up with the concept. I was building to that.
Well, part of it was frustration with the other shows, the other talk shows, where I was a guest quite often. And sometimes they would have other guests in the green room who I thought were interesting, and I would like to talk to them on the show. But of course, in those shows, you
one after the other.
One after the other.
Very honest.
And I thought there got to be a place where everybody could talk at the same time.
Yeah.
Because that's what I like to do at home. You know, I like to have
That's what a great dinner party's about.
Yeah, have
Everybody
friends
talks.
over
Yeah,
and
I agree,
everybody.
That's what's missing from this show. I mean, I would like to do that more too. I mean, it is the notion.
Well, let's get those other people
hey,
back.
Come on back.
Let's get Anthony Hopkins
and
back
Emmanuel
in
Axe.
here.
Hey, that would be a group right there.
Yeah, you had it right
We
there.
had him. Why did we do it? You know who used to do it?
Because I'm doing
it. So you sat there and said, why can't we get all these people together?
Yeah, which is not to say it's better. I mean, what you do is fabulous. I mean, this kind of interview that you do and Bob Costas. So those are the only two that I really enjoyed one-on-one. I mean, there's that Barbara Walters interview, which we all watch, and I think she does a great job, but that's a different kind of interview, a celebrity interview. But when you and what Bob used to do, there's nothing that could ever replace that. That's an interview. And you do it really good. The thing about our show is it's not an interview.
Right.
Those people are not going to be asked about their lives or what they're publicizing. It's not a publicity. We'll hold up something when we bring them out, but that's it.
Right.
They're not there to plug a movie. They're there to render opinions on whatever subject I'm saying. So, you know, to people in the business who only like to talk about themselves, it's not good.
Yeah.
But for others, it's a wonderful release to be able to, you know, talk about things that are not about you all the time.
And for people who could only talk about themselves and have no opinions, they don't belong on your show.
No, and I've had plenty of people, stars, come up to me and say, you know, gee, I watch your show all the time. And I go, thanks, would you like to do it? They go, no. I have nothing to say. That's what John Goodman said to me. He said, nope, I have nothing to say. Okay, John?
Did you say once that Seinfeld has never had a political thought in his life?
I said that the other day because after the Don Imus flap,
right.
They called me because I had done that dinner the year before and also gotten into some trouble. And they said, you know, do you think there's a problem in how they book it? And I said, yes, of course. What do they expect? They book Don Imus and Mr. Politically Incorrect, and then they're mad when the material is a little off color. Yeah. There's so many other ways they could go. Book Jerry. He's never said anything political. Book a juggler.
Yeah, that's what you said, yeah. If they get Jerry, you got no problem.
Yeah.
You know, and he'll make you laugh.
Oh.
It'll be great material.
Oh, the best.
Imus, what'd you think of that whole controversy, other than what you just said, the point you just made? You want Imus, you get Imus, and that's what you should expect.
Yes, I just don't like now that I'm lumped in with Imus because I thought he took it a step further than I did. He made fun of the president's marital situation.
Not to speak of Peter Jennings.
Yeah, but I think Peter Jennings is divorced now, isn't he?
Yes.
Okay. I think there's a real difference.
I hope so, because his wife is remarried.
Right. Okay. But I think there's a real difference when you're speaking in front of a married couple. It's just a politeness thing. I mean, even forget about the president, forget that you're on television. Here's a married couple that had an admitted difficulty in their past. Right. A more painful thing you can't bring up in front of a married couple. I mean, I wouldn't do that in my home.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I know,
to people. So I thought that was completely out of line. I think there is a line. I think he went over it. And I didn't. So when People magazine said this week in the article that last year I did a obscenity-laced monologue, not true. I certainly did not.
What was the thing that got you in trouble then?
I said one bad word.
And was it a four-letter word?
Yes, it is.
All right. Okay. Well, let's move on then. Well, we can bleep it out anyway.
Yeah.
It's right. You sat there, you put together this idea for the show, and you went to Comedy Central and said, have I got, you know, you're lucky to have me because I've got a great idea. You're looking for a great idea. I've got a great idea. And not only is it a great idea, I bring with it the host and the talent.
Pretty much, yeah, that's what you have to do.
Thank you very much, Maher, but we get this every day.
Right. Well, of course, you have to be so sold on it that you can sell others. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
And, of course, they were a little skeptical at first, and they wavered, but the thing about a network like Comedy Central that's so wonderful is that they, being not the top dog, have to be innovative.
Right.
They have to look for something different. And that's true with any network that's in last place. Whoever's in last place is going to do some interesting television.
Right.
NBC did it when they were in last in the early 80s, and they brought on Hill Street Blues and Cheers, and all those shows languished in the ratings, St. Elsewhere, before they caught on. And
also they caught Cosby.
But you know why they left them on? Because they had nothing else.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing in television when you're with somebody who has nothing better, and they might as well take a chance. Fox did it, Simpsons, and all that.
I mean, that's really the indictment of television. Nobody gets a chance to develop. You know?
Right.
I mean, you have to be public television. Same thing with this program.
Yeah.
An opportunity to find itself. You know, so and find an audience and have people, you know, get to know all those things that you talked about. Before we go any further, I just want to, well, no, I do want to do this. So you set up the idea, they bought it on Comedy Central, put it on at 11 o'clock, one rerun a week, right? It's always been that?
Yes.
Right.
Now, the first season we taped them all in advance. It was not really what the show is, but it was getting to where we are. But most of our life we've been on, yes, 4 new shows a week, Mondays a repeat.
And how is it different today than it was when you started?
Well, we're in L.A. now.
Yeah, I know. Okay.
So we were in New York for most of our life, and that was traumatic because so many people were, frankly, hoping that it would fail out there. Because
who would hope it would fail?
Oh, all the chauvinistic New York types who are skeptical, and you don't understand the prejudice there is against California. I find it literally insulting. People still say, you know, oh, why do you want to be in California? Everybody's so stupid there. It's like they have this anachronistic view of California like they're all surfer dudes. I mean, please. On top of which, if you're doing an edgy show, that's the city that's edgy now. I mean, since the riots and Rodney King and the O.J. Simpson case and the fires and the earthquakes, if you think L.A. is laid back, you are living in the era of Starsky and Hutch. L.A. is not laid back. L.A. is a city that's on edge. And so it's a perfect place to do a political show. And many of the political issues that are at the forefront, like immigration, are the number one issues out there. And it's obviously the most important state. Clinton spends about half his life in California because it's the one state none of them can afford to lose. If you lose California...
Yeah, well, he's way ahead, too. There's some talk that Doe may not campaign a whole lot out there. Because
hey, he's afraid of Ralph Nader in California.
Clinton is.
Yeah.
I'm sure. 6 or 7
You
points.
can't fool around with California. Got to win it.
Yeah, Pete Wilson found that out, too, didn't he? When he ran for president, his polls numbers just dropped. Let me take a look at this. This is highlights from Politically Incorrect, seen on Comedy Central, and the good news is that it will be there through the political season, through the election. And then in 1997, Bill has abandoned Comedy Central and gone over to ABC after they made him and they gave him an opportunity, 3 years of run, and he's out of there. Here it is. Take a look.
You know what? If you're bringing up your kids in the Aryan nation, you are causing danger because you're spawning hate in America.
So now you're going to have...
In my neighborhood, if a guy put swastikas on his kids, I would be a little suspicious.
Yeah.
I would say, come on over, we'll have some fruit.
Have you ever experienced fear of a person of another race?
Not because they were of that race.
Oh, please.
If I am walking...
Have you ever met Little Richard?
When men get older, they start to look like Sean Connery, but when women get older, they start to look like Sean Connery.
We are all pretending like men don't go after the most attractive woman in the room. Margaret Thatcher today, I think, is probably the most brilliant woman alive. Do you want to screw Margaret Thatcher? Yes or no?
Well, it's been a while since I've been with an older white woman.
Is it stupid to tell the truth? Do you have to lie to get elected?
You want me to tell you the real truth? Would you advise Gary Hart to stand up and say, I'm running for president, this, that, and that? By the way, there's one more thing you should know about my activity.
That's great! Absolutely great!
Look at this panel. The only person here who has not been convicted or under indictment is gay. And I think
that's great. Gordon Liddy stars on your show.
We have strange bedfellows, to say the least. That show where you saw Marion Barry, who apparently was dressed as a Star Trek villain.
No, he was...
and Gordon Liddy, they bonded.
Oh, they did?
But you know why? Because they had been in the same prison. And they were comparing...
Not at the same time.
Not at the same time, but it was like, oh, you know this guard, and, you know, remember Thursdays they'd have macaroni, and they actually had something in common.
And there probably were some guys that were still, obviously, some guys still there, so they might have known some of the same people.
Probably the congressman who was also indicted.
Marion Barry's also bonded with Newt Gingrich.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
I never know anymore who's with who anymore. You know, Pat Buchanan and Jerry Brown are on the same side with trade and
NAFTA, that kind of stuff. I don't know what they are, but
you know,
NAFTA,
it's
yeah.
like I don't know whether my positions even are liberal or conservative anymore. Everybody's switching.
Are you a political junkie? I mean, is this stuff that you are? No, you don't care that much about it. It is just.
Oh, I do, but I don't. A political junkie is someone I think of who reads 3 papers a day and watches CNN and C-SPAN.
That's Don Imus, actually.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, he really does look like they say.
I've never watched C-SPAN. I wouldn't know where to find it if I had to find it. CNN, occasionally, yes, but I watch the nightly news if I'm around at 6 o'clock, and I read the New York Times. That's my thing every day, and I read a lot of magazines, or at least I look through them. But I don't want to be too much more informed than my audience. Because, you know, a lot of...
Sounding like Larry King here.
A lot of people come up to me and say...
Why prepare if you don't have to?
Yeah, well, prepare, but, I mean, you know, a lot of people come up and say, you know, I get my news from your show. And
oh, this country's in deep trouble.
Exactly. It's like reading the Monarch notes, you know, without reading the book.
Yes.
But the truth is, I mean, people are not that... mostly politically astute. So, you know, I like...
In other words, you can do a funny program without being smart.
I don't want anybody watching the show to feel like they didn't prepare enough to appreciate the show.
Right, right. Bill Maher on Politically Incorrect on Comedy Central from now through the end of the election, or through
Election Day is our last show on Comedy Central.
And then start over new ABC after Nightline in the beginning of '97.
Right.
Thank you again.
My pleasure.
We'll be right back. Stay with us.